Hi. Um, Having a few interesting ideas at the moment, so I thought I would record them. If this makes a podcast, cool. If not, don't care. I'm thinking about, as I just finished watching one of these YouTube videos, it was of a 96-year-old lady, kind of reflecting on her life and just a little bit of what she's learned. I find those videos to be quite helpful, so I recommend them to you. And she, 96, says, she still can't think about her childhood. She doesn't like to anyway, And what's funny is that the doctor that I just saw on Monday, he said the very same thing, when he's worked in this office, that office, senior living homes, other places, so he's noticed that, some people that are, you're wrinkled, you have liver spots, your hair is now gray or gone, and what their family had done to them still causes so much pain that decades later, they still are heartbroken about it and can't speak about it. And I just find that to be so remarkable that us as humans can inflict so much emotional pain onto one another that it can affect us for the rest of our lives. Yet, I'm sure all of you know that one person in your life who you think is the most angelest of angels, right? For me, that's my grandma and my Aunt Meg. You know that they're good people. So to try to understand another person's trauma, to understand that they also, although are that fucking nice and amazing, that they could still have those things in them that are so painful. And then there's people that have very similar things in them that choose to drink and ruin relationships and not get help, And that goes for everybody. There's multiple millions of people on this planet that don't have good coping skills. And I don't know, I just thought that was very remarkable. I thought that was insane, but also so understandable, And you look at older people, not even someone that's 96, you look at somebody that's 40, 50, and you think, man, they're great, they're put together. Not all the time, and everybody hides like these things, like these things about themselves that are so painful because they can't talk about them, and because it hurts. It opens that wound again. And I understand, if you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it. But, what I tell myself is I will choose to talk about it continuously to the point of where I get sick of it because I want it to lose its power. I want to see how I can transform it, even if we're just talking about pain. Like, I'm going to talk about my pain. And I hope people that I believe to be my friends and, family or whatever would listen to my pain. But also, I want to tell a story with my pain because I know that I am not the only one on this planet that feels the way that I do. So, please don't ever feel shame for what has happened to you, or if you feel shame for feeling upset about things in your childhood, or if you think that you should get over them, just move past. I think moving on is great, but I think that diving into pain is really important. And I think it's something that a lot of people won't do. And that's why they never grow. So I think the fact that I'm 22 years old and for the last year I've been completely enveloped with my pain shows that I am meant for something. And I never, ever, ever talk positive about myself. Unless it's like, oh, my makeup looks good, or good, I'm having a good hair day, you know. But I find it very hard to talk positive about myself, which is definitely from my upbringing. And I've noticed I've been trying to do that more. I have a friend at work who really points out how amazing I am. And I don't think that it's narcissistic to talk about yourself in a positive life when you've never done it, you know? So lately I've been saying things like that, you know, that I'm a badass, that I'm the shit, I got this. And one of the things that makes me feel the most confident and the most badass is, like I said, I'm 22, I am in my pain, in it, feeling it. And there are 50-year-olds out there that haven't even bothered at all because their shit's painful, which I can understand, and continue to blame their problems on everyone else. And that is such a metaphor for everything. If you look from like country to country relations and all that shit, people won't take any accountability for their actions, yet still choose to play victim. And that is something that enrages me, you know? Or they believe that somehow you're responsible for fixing them or doing for them. You know, and that can be shown as just like an easy example of, America. If we won't even get into that, but, you know, so much fucking wasted money found in all these other countries, not ours. And people find a problem with trying to take care of your country first, which if you were to ask them, if you have a home and your friend has a home, what home do you take the most care of? It's your home. This is our home. We should take care of the people in our home first before we go around spending and spreading all this money to all these people for bullshit reasons, right? And that can go into a million different things. But that's just that example of things being your responsibility because of weak-minded people. That can even go for work. People not doing their job, so then you have to do it, right? I also just, you know, being so growth-oriented and having such a spurt recently, I've noticed that these lessons that you learn, like I wait tables at the moment, so you know, I have to learn how to quickly change my face or change my mood or find better ways to cope with people being stupid as fuck, you know? And it just is infuriating to know that people that are older than you are not as emotionally mature. But yeah, all these lessons at work, these lessons in the media, whatever the fuck, you know, not even lessons in the media. You can find lessons in the media is what I mean. They go everywhere. You know, like the example I just gave you about America and if it was your house, you know, that can go for so many things. So I think I've always thought of learning new things as everything is scattered everywhere. You know, and I have to run around collecting all of these pieces of information. When in reality, all of the information is all probably tied into itself. You know, so you don't actually have to go that far. You just have to be willing to perceive it in a different way, you know, if that makes sense. I think it does. Yeah. I just wanted to say stuff like that. It just occurred to me. And I feel like, I don't know, I get mad. I get very mad when and this is not a healthy emotion. I can understand that. I get mad when people won't talk about their trauma. And maybe it's because I don't understand it, and anger is the easiest thing for us to feel, right? So if I don't understand something, much, you get mad, which is a very human reaction, I think. But I'm choosing not to, because I can understand that, everybody's journey is different. And I am not going to be someone that, says that I know better or I know, but I think that my past is very, 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 very checkered. Not because of my doing, because of my parents. And by checkered, I mean emotionally stunted and traumatized. But not emotionally stunted anymore. I'm fucking amazing. I'm not going to say that. And start correcting yourselves. When you're saying bullshit about yourself, fucking correct that shit. No, I'm not like that. I'm actually way more emotionally grown than the people that raised me. Just because I'm willing to take the time to fix my fucking trauma, unlike they did. And I will say that there's definitely a part of parents not fixing their shit because of, time. Not time. I'm talking about the time period that they were raised in. You don't talk about that shit. And I can understand that is not their fault. But, much like people that are in the hood complaining that they're in the hood, people do get out. People do fix their shit. So don't play victim and say that it's somebody else's responsibility. There's people in every single building, at any big building. I'm sure there's at least one person that was brought up in the fucking hood and they got out because they wanted more for themselves. So everything really just comes down to loving yourself. And if you don't love yourself, you're fucked. Everything's fucked. Just like how I said, information's connected. Love for yourself unites everything. It unites your brain. It unites your body. It unites you with people that are aligned with you. It's totally mind over matter, and it's such a cliche, but it's very true. Also, listen to the cliches as much as they're fucking annoying. A lot of them do ring true. It's not like this is a self-help podcast or anything, but maybe one day my kids can listen to this shit and maybe it'll help them, or somebody out there, it'll help them. That's all I'm trying to do. And I also kind of want to document this journey because I've always had visions of myself being somebody of importance. And I have no shame in saying that because I truly believe it. And I think that'd be cool to document that as soon as possible, as I've been doing. So, yeah. But like I was saying, parents and, their trauma, I definitely feel bad for them because some genuinely don't know how to get help. And then others just don't want it. And a guy named Ed in my writing group, I wrote a poem about my future baby, and he said after I had read it, it's really not that hard as long as you love yourself as the parent. If you love yourself as you and you're a parent. And I think that neither of my parents love themselves. My mother does not love herself. She feels guilt and shame on a daily basis, although won't admit it. And I'm not talking about anything that happened with me. I'm talking about everything before me. My father, I don't think that he knows how he should love himself, which is why he left his daughter as a baby. Because if you really love yourself as a man and believe that you're a real man, you don't ever leave an innocent child. You know what I mean? And I just want everybody to really recognize that. And maybe as like an exercise, or like as just a thought to have, which I find interesting. I always kind of give myself little thoughts to think of, or try not to judge people today, which I've been really trying to work on, because you end up judging yourself, right? But really think about if you think that your parents love and care for themselves. There's of course those selfless people out there, which they really should take care of themselves, But yeah, I think that plays a huge role in how you parent. And I think that makes total sense. So when Ed said that to me, I found that so striking, because it made so much sense. The insecurity, the shame, the lying my mother would have me doing to, other parents, to teachers, to doctors, encouraging lying, encouraging bad behavior, but we can talk about that in another podcast. She was covering up. Don't tell anybody our business. I don't like you telling people our business, which of course she would deem this as her business, but it is not, seeming as you are my mother. So your business is now my business, especially when you traumatically affected my life. It will always be my business. But, really thinking about, it all makes sense with that one question. Because if you really think about it right now. Do I love myself? I think there's a part of me that says yes, and there's a huge part that says no. And I think there's a part of that's okay, because you have to, continue to grow your whole life. But I think that, that just shows I'm not ready to be a parent. So, good thing I'm not going to be a parent. But, I think that it makes so much sense. And so now I feel like I'm going to walk around just thinking about that all the time, Like, I wonder if she loves herself. And I think that you'll be able to see it in families. If those people actually took the time to find out how to love themselves, care for themselves, respect themselves before bringing in other members of their family. Like, that is a very respectable thing to do, because a lot of people are very self-centered in having children, believing that it will fix their problems, believing that it will somehow help them. And I think that always having children is somewhat of a selfish act. I've thought that for the last 3 years, and it's never an insult, because I still want to have kids, and I can say that I'm probably selfish because of that. But you want them for you, you choose to have a kid, so it's kind of your choice, and you want to do that. And then that kid does not owe you anything. I'm going to repeat that one more time for my mother. I don't owe you anything. You chose to have me. So, I think about that for yourselves as well. It's you as you become a human being, and as, a youngster and then a teen, you do owe respect to authority, of course. Respect your parents, which would come easy if they respect you. In that unified household, that's probably what would happen. So it would just go according to nature. But, as for choosing to have children and then getting frustrated with them not behaving the way you want them to, sweetheart, they are their own human being. They're not here to become a carbon copy of you. They're here to learn and do their own shit, and you got to accept that. I think there's a lot of people that can't accept that about their children. I just think parenting is such I think it can be a calling and an instinct for people, so it comes easy. But I also think, obviously, it can be the hardest thing ever. So interesting, these contrasting things that are something that's so beautiful can have such scary like negatives to it, but everybody does it, right? Like that's crazy. And imagine how many things we do that we know are not good for us that we do, and imagine how many people do them. Interesting. People are just interesting, you know? So observe, take note, don't judge. These are things I say out loud for myself to hear. So never bossing anybody around or anything. Just always just thinking of that, you know. It's so crazy. But I hope everybody's been well. I've been doing good. I didn't plan on this being a podcast, but we can talk some more about something else. What is it today? Saturday, March 1st, the 24th of February. I went to the doctor, and the same day I had taken my first Adderall. Not prescribed, but was given to me as like a trial run or something. We'll say that. And I did it when I was going to go to the doctor because I was like, I think, and I've thought this for years, and I've had a clinical psychologist say that I have ADHD. I have somebody that I meet with weekly right now who also would agree. If you just listen to any of my older podcasts or listen to me now, you can tell. Not anything I'm ashamed of, but I definitely have ADHD. I've always had ADHD. I've talked about it probably on the last one. But I knew I knew I needed that medicine. And if you know me, I never, ever, ever wanted to be on anything. Ever. I hated the idea of it. I didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable. But you get to a point in your pain, if you're going through it, where you realize things. You might get a diagnosis. You might have an epiphany. There's so many things that can happen. And one of those things is building a toolbox, which they say for everything, right? But it's very true. You're building a toolbox filled with things that will help you continue to get through this pain, this journey, and life. Because these old instincts and old patterns that you have will eventually, that are negative, will eventually cause pain or disruption in your life. So then you'll need to overcome them by using those tools. And I don't think that I would ever be able to reach the goals that I have set for myself, that I want to accomplish, without having my tools, which are not just the Adderall. It would be exercise, writing, listening to music, dancing. I love to dance and sing, and I dance and I sing alone by myself. And it's something I've done my whole entire life. And that is a coping skill or old pattern. That's good. So I can show you an example of that. It's good. There's nothing wrong with fucking dancing your heart out, man. Burning calories, moving your body, not thinking about your bullshit for a minute, right? So I have other tools in that box, along with boundaries. Boundaries is a fantastic tool, you know? And now that I have gotten my prescription for Adderall and I am on it, I feel like I can do anything. Like I can do that. I'm okay. Because with ADHD for me, and I'm sure for lots of other women, just so many fucking thoughts. Uncontrollable. Cannot stop them. Positive thoughts, negative thoughts, racing thoughts, intrusive thoughts that then become sticky, negative thoughts that become sticky, meaning that they are not going away, that this isn't something I can overcome. And then you get the guilt and shame, you know, of being late or not getting that last thing on your to-do list done, or forgetting this, forgetting that. And instead of guilt and shame, realizing that my brain is short what it needs has been a crazy shift. You know, I would shit on myself so much. So much. I'm a loser, I'm lazy, I'm fat, I have problems, I'm unorganized, all these horrible things constantly. Because I was trying so hard to operate in a way that I was not even capable of operating in the first place. Because I remember feeling like this when I was fucking 16. I'm going to be 23 in 3 months. So that's a minute. That's 7 years of beating myself down, feeling like shit, all because I didn't understand that my brain doesn't produce the right amount of dopamine or serotonin for me to get shit done the way other people get shit done. So huge. And I always thought I had like chronic depression, and I always thought that I had terrible anxiety, and I do have bad anxiety. And that is 100% because of my upbringing and who I became as a person. But to think, I have chronic depression, I don't want to be depressed. I'm not depressed. It's because of the fucking burnout. So if you think you have ADHD, look it up. And look up how it affects the self-esteem. Look up why. And I actually think this about my parents. I'm not sure if it's both or maybe just one or the other. But I think for sure my dad has ADHD. And I totally think that my mom does because of, certain things. Not that it's bad. Maybe if we would have realized that together and worked on it, something could have, changed. But, you can do the ifs and well or the buts, all you want. But, the shit is the way it is. But I do think that they must have had that because I look at lots of people who have unhealthy coping skills and what those coping skills give, and it's dopamine, it's energy, it's excitement, it's something. And I think that, the reason my mom is, an alcoholic is because she doesn't have that dopamine. Because a lot of people with ADHD end up with addiction issues because we're craving. That's why I used to drink a bit too much, probably. Smoked an unhealthy amount. Now I feel comfortable with what I do. And I would just, I'd hang out with anybody because I didn't want to be alone. I wanted to get the dopamine by hanging out with people. I would go shopping, spend money on shit that I didn't need because it gave me dopamine. Like, I can't tell you how many things I'm literally looking at on my fucking coffee table that I have bought because they made me happy in that moment. So ADHD really is like a fucking whirlwind of emotion. And it's not just, I can't remember to flip over the laundry like ever. It's not like that. It's not about leaving the fridge door open a couple times and oops. It's about your life seeming to crumble around you and you feeling like you have glue on your feet and you can't move. That's what it's like for me. It's seeing, I don't know if I talked about this in another episode, but I talked about it a lot, so maybe that's why I think that. If you've ever seen the movie Money Pit, and this is kind of going to go back to the tools in the toolbox. Money Pit is a movie with, can't remember the chick's name, but I know that it's Tom Hanks. Oof, I'm mad I can't remember her name. Anyway, I know that it's with Tom Hanks and there's another famous person in it. And it's about this house that's falling apart, but they didn't know that it was going to fall apart till after they bought it. It's a comedy. And there was, a scene where the staircase had fallen apart. so they're using a ladder or whatever the fuck they're doing. And it popped in my head. That's how I feel. That upper level is where you want to get. It's where a bedroom is, your cool shit, goals, all that stuff, But I don't have any fucking stairs. I don't got no fucking stairs. How the hell am I going to get up there where I want to be, where I deserve to be? I'm going to have to find some tools, So I think kind of like putting pictures onto like some of the things you're feeling, or just shouting out some of the emotions you think you're feeling. It's not about releasing the power of it. It's making it so that maybe you can see it a little bit clearer. You know what I mean? Maybe you can reach it easier by thinking of that picture in the movie that would represent your feeling. Or, I have brain fog because, of ADHD, anxiety, trauma, all their shit. Got brain fog. So I always described it to like doctors and to people as if you're trying to take a picture, but the lens is like dirty or it's foggy and you just can't get it right. That's what the brain fog. So putting image to some of your issues, I think is helpful. And that's what's helped me. And I like that I feel so comfortable and able to be so raw and open because that's exactly what I want. And I know that I want that. I know that I want to be as raw as possible about what the fuck happened to me because I was told my whole life that I'm remembering things wrong. That wasn't what happened. You shouldn't feel that way. And, always having somebody turn your shit into theirs. So now I'm on my hunt and my journey to not give a fuck at all about what other people think about me. And to not give a fuck about what my family thinks about me. And to be as raw and as loving of myself as possible so that I can attract the people that have the same mentality and that my kids will be so fucking badass that I will be proud until the day that I die. So that is my journey. That's my main goal. And I think that I'm doing a pretty good fucking job of getting there. So, thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast. That kind of just was some good talking. I really enjoyed this, and I will talk to you guys soon. Have a beautiful March 1st.